Let's see if this is working. And this out of nowhere stream. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Let me put stop to this. Okay. Yeah, because you can't really stream music, so it's a work stream. So I'll be hearing some music. Hopefully, doesn't get me in trouble. I won't put it in the stream. Just wanted to test that. So yeah, welcome to this stream. It will be mostly about the work I'm doing for this little game that we're developing, which is a strategy game. Here I already have some, I can go here, some turn tracker where you can decide, oh, I want to play with this unit, I'll press this button, I'll move around, and then pass the turn. Then, I mean, the logic behind that, I already explained it in the small video about the game we're making. But there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be done in order for me to present it like, oh, in a short format video. So, yep, this will be our way of showing some progress of what we are doing regarding our game. Some people have been asking about it, and I mean, we really don't have that much to show around just yet, but at least it's something, right? And if there are any questions about it, or any question about logic, blueprint, programming, in my case, maybe animations, like feel free to make them. I'll be, yeah, I'll be taking breaks. I'll read the chat, and we will see what happens. So for now, the first part I wanted to implement, I just show you a little bit of what we have, which is just this. We have the begin battle kind of things that, oh, it's going to start. Here is just a debugging tool, which is the turn list. But that was before I had implemented this part, which is the actual tracker of the turns. And right now I have only added one image just to know that at least one unit is different and it's working like semi correctly. And whenever I possess one of the players, so I select this unit, which we don't really have a UI just yet. What I wanted to do is make these two bars work, and also these action points, which for now that's the name of what we're going to use, but well, it may change in the future. But still, it is in name it may change, but it will be an action point, like, oh, you spend a point to do some kind of action, right? So yep, it's not the classical, well, the normal type of stream we're doing, like, oh, there's not exactly a goal in mind, but at least I think it may be maybe interesting for you guys to see the actual development. I mean, later on we will try to piece these parts and edit some fluff out, so we can make a actual video, a concrete video about a certain topic. But for now, I really need to be doing something here. So yeah, again, welcome to the stream. I believe um, it should stay up after posting it. Like, we really don't see why should we delete it after it? At least not right now. Maybe if we don't do a video with this footage, maybe we can delete this stream because, well, why not? But for now, for sure, we will keep it up. Okay, so I'll try to explain some of the stuff we have been doing. In the case of controlling the UI, depending on what, for example, stages of the game, the combat starts. Oh, we need a UI that says, oh, the battle will begin, right? Which everything is placeholder, by the way. This is not the final look of the game by any means, right? I'm just trying to get a good idea of how the game will feel before trying to decorate everything. So here we're controlling it through the game mode. The game mode is usually the place where you want all your game logic regarding the state of the game to be. So if your game will have a combat phase, then probably you will want it to have added in the game mode, which is where I have it. We prepare for the combat. Oh, it's a turn-based game. It's pretty out there. It's a strategy. It's an action strategy turn-based game. That's why, oh, you have the turns, you select a unit, and then it becomes super actiony, right? So yeah, it's really out there. But it's still, the bases are a turn-based game. And in a turn-based game, you will have rounds like, oh, when all the units play, then you want for another round to begin to replenish. And you can see, I believe I have implemented that part if I play with enough characters. Okay, you have these units that have already played. So after they are all exhausted, we go to the next round, and then all units can play again. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing here in the game mode. I just define, and I can increase it, define the states, like prepare for combat, prepare for the round, start the round, select a unit, we assign the turn, here's where the action gameplay happens, and then we end the unit turn, and we change the turn, and here we are checking if there are enemies. If there are no enemies anymore, then the combat ends and maybe you win or you lose. If there are enemies, then we go to the next turn. And I have this little function where I'm looking forward, like who should the turn be next, right? So that's pretty much it for how I'm controlling that turn-based part. It's really not that hard. It's mostly about having an order of things you want to happen. And for that, if you're just starting out, something that really helped was flowcharts. Here I have the one that I used. Let me search for it. Documents. Here it is. So whenever I'm writing logic, I do like a super simple flowchart. Like, oh, the combat starts, the combat ends, what happens in between, and then I start filling up the gaps. So for that, a full-fledged flowchart, which is exactly what I just explained, but in a very simple way of reading it, is this one. These are nodes, like if nodes, branches, where you go one way or the other. You check something, you do something in response. And because you want to keep playing, then at the end we have, oh, are there units available? Then we update the turn list and we select the new unit. there are no units, then we change it around and refresh our units. And here, if there are no enemies, then the combat ends. Pretty much what I was talking about. So with this structure, it's a lot easier. If I want to, I want to show a text when the combat starts, I just need to go here. Oh, when should I set it? Maybe here, when the combat starts. If I needed to change a text every time a unit plays, then for sure here will be the place where we're selecting the unit. So yeah, flowcharts are very, very important. And I'll check some questions because I started just because I didn't saw anyone, so why not start? Hi, I want to make an MMO RPG, I believe. Where can I start? Yeah, usually whenever you have any type of networking involved, things get really out of hand. So you really need to get the fundamentals straight. Like not only knowing how the code or how the engine works, but knowing the framework behind it. Like why should I use this class? Why shouldn't I use it? What are the cases for me to use the game mode? The cases where I should use the game state, player controllers, a lot of stuff. So if you really don't have that in the bag, then for sure don't start a networking project because trying to learn as you go can be really, really difficult. And you will get to the point where, I already learned, I already understand. And when you read your previous code, it's like, I need to redo everything. So yeah. After that, if you're already maybe not a master, but you're well acquainted with the framework, for sure you will need a way of communicating with a database because well players need to connect to their characters and to the with their credentials start loading stuff. You will also probably will need to research a lot into loading asynchronously because you don't really want your player to be stuck behind a progress bar trying to load everything, or you don't want the player to get freezed in place when you're loading a new map, right? So yeah, there are a lot of stuff that goes into making an MMO. Even us is like, we're not making an MMO by any chance. We will never finish. So I mean, you can do it if you are trying to learn more about networking, but from the start to actually reaching the goal, the end line, it will be a tough journey, like, and a long one for sure. So yeah, I mean, if you want to create your MMO, for sure start by tweaking an MMO that already exists. There are like alternative servers where you can. Some people play WoW, like classic WoW, vanilla WoW, World of Warcraft, or even I used to play Tibia, and there are a lot of alternative servers where you can level up at a different rate. But even that, like managing a server, is another completely different skill that you also need to develop. So yeah, be very careful when you want to create an MMO. Now let's today I managed to make my character get damage, heal, and die. I'm so proud. Yeah, it's the little stuff that actually to get your character to die, like there are a lot of steps, and eventually, if you try and research stuff, if you get stuck and research again, eventually you will reach it. But it's all the lesson learned that are more valuable more than the actual result. Like, you make the character die, yes, but whatever you learned for that to happen is a lot more valuable than just your character dying. So yeah, it's a good thing that yeah, you should be proud about your progress. How did you make that flowchart? Okay. Where's my... Here it is. No. I made that flowchart using how was it called? Is this... I forgot the name of this type of language. Let me see if I can find it. But I did it with this. I'll move it here. So pretty much is code. You move something and then you generate the code. I believe it was F9. There it is, GraphBiz. So I really didn't want to be that much worried about making it look fancy or nice. I just wanted to be clear. And if there was a program that can organize the nodes for me, for sure I'll take it. Doesn't matter if it's just black or and white. So GraphBiz did just that. We can change the shapes, we can change the connections, and it's very easy to use. Like the most basic stuff is just connecting two nodes, and you just do something like this, like the node name, arrow, and another node name. And here it says start. Then we can label those nodes like, oh, instead of start, just type combat start and then the shape, and whoop, there it is. It's pretty nice stuff if you just want to have your logic. I used to just put it in a pen and paper, but software always evolves, always is changing, and I needed a tool that allowed me to do just that. Also, there was a good time where I did it in Photoshop, and I was running out of ideas, so how to make it a bit more faster, because you needed to create another shape or another layer, and it was a lot of work. Here you just type bloop, generate the graph, want it in PDF, file, save as, and you can save it to PDF. Yeah, so it's called GraphBiz, and there's a plugin for Notepad++, which should be, yeah, GraphBiz. Here it is. Let's see more questions. Hey bro, how are you? How can I create a character? Oh, and hopefully you were able to see it, but let me just in case show it again. Like, this is the GraphBiz. Any change here will be reflected here. Let's see more questions. I'm going to finish it. If I make a demo, it's enough for me. Start small, yes. I'm creating models using the modeling tools like big walls and a gate and some towers. Do you have any advice to make it look more realistic? Oh, I believe, yeah, they already answered in the chat. How can I create a character? I mean, you first need a skeletal mesh, which is the model, the actual 3D model. For example, here we have our character. Where was it? Where's the static mesh? Here it is. This is the model of our one of the main characters. Right now, if we just see the where is it? Wireframe. We won't see any bones. There's only polygons here. That's the first part of having your character, right? You create it, or you buy it, or you pay for it, etc. After that, you need to rig it, which means adding bones. So whenever you move around, and I mean, we have a test here of the character. So here we can show the bones. Now with these bones, whenever we rotate it, it should follow the polygons associated with the bones follow the rotation of the bones. All this part rigging, and rigging is like making the bones, positioning them, and adding some controls for later on you can animate them, and connecting the polygons to the bones is called skinning. So rigging and skinning, you can't do it inside Unreal. You need to go to Blender to do that, or to Maya, whatever software you are using. And from there, you make it look good. This is just a test. For sure, I was really upset with how this deformation was. Like here, like it's breaking the texture, but it's fine. This was just a test. See, so even here, like, it's like, what's happening here? I don't know, but it was just a test, just to get something going. And there are a lot of errors actually in this skeletal mesh. But whenever you have this skeletal mesh, then you can go create a blueprint character where you use the skeletal mesh. You can add some animations through the animation blueprint and start connecting the behavior that you would like to have. Because this is a character, this already has a collision, it can receive input, and from there you can already move stuff around like that. So yeah, that's like the super overview of how to create a character. Okay, so while there are one more question, and I'll start adding some stuff to the game, because this intro has been a little bit longer than I would have liked. Do you use C++ API library? I would like to learn it somehow, sometimes in the future. But honestly, to say, I'm afraid I use standard C++ at the university, but Unreal C++ is something scary for me. Don't be scared. It's even easier than normal C++. It's called assisted C++ because there are a lot of functions that already come with the engine and make it so replication / networking and also refraction, you have it out of the box, so you don't need to worry too much about that kind of stuff. And I mean, if you already know a little bit about blueprints, you can do the same thing. The names are almost the same exact ones in C++. So yeah, if you're already comfortable with the engine, learning C++ is really not that hard. It's just the first barrier of starting, and after that you're golden, you're free to go, and the logic will be almost the same. Okay, so you can keep asking questions. I'll return to the chat in a moment. What I wanted to add here, like I said at the start, was just connecting these action points with the actual code behind it, which I created a super fast UI, which is this one. They're just squares. So this is the real representation of the action points. Right now you can move a certain bit without spending, but whenever they get spent, you can see that they disappear and a bar appears, which that bar should also be there reflected in that stamina bar. So that's the thing that I want to connect. For that, and I can close these parts. I did it a bit ago, so let me just try to remember. I'll go to UI, debug UI, I believe it will be this one. Nope. This bar maybe? I think not. Here it is. So these are being driven by the actual unit. And you will see that we are creating these images depending on the code. So even though you will see it here, I could just delete it. And when I press play, there should be added again because we are doing that dynamically, which is not something that you usually see in a YouTube tutorial, because in a YouTube tutorial you need to explain like step by step. At least we like to do that. We like to explain step by step, but because we are just showing a project and I need to go forward, then I'll just explain it in as an overview, like not that in depth, but if there are questions about it, then we can return to be in depth. But I know that not everyone is excited about programming stuff in the UI in UMG, especially me. I'm really not excited about that, but it must be done. Okay, so the way I'm getting that information, we have these events which are interfaces. These interfaces are telling me that I need to show the unit combat HUD. Whenever we're dealing with anything in the HUD, if you're following the framework, you will want to create a HUD class, which is really simple. You just right click, blueprint class, you can search for HUD, and here it is. Here you have it. A HUD is something that you can define in your game mode. So here, if I go in my game mode, in the game mode, here we have it, HUD class, and here I have the class that I created. You can also create the class by clicking here. Super simple. And the HUD class exists inside the player controller, so it means that it will show stuff about the player. Now, with that information, if I want to show stats about the player, for example, the health, the stamina, how many action points, for sure I will need to use that class. And it's not exception that it should be around here. Yeah, and it's a little disorganized because we were testing stuff and I needed to change this. What I'm seeing is I'm creating the stuff which is the same, and I'm just sending the same bit of information. So what I'm going to do, here I have a combat unit, which should be Here it is. I need to implement the same event called show player unit combat HUD, which is an interface. So I need to implement that interface. An interface is a type of blueprint communication where we are only worried about the name of the function and the inputs. The action implementation is done in some other place. So that's why whenever you're dealing with interfaces, if you try to double click this, you will go to the interface, which you will see that it's a blueprint which says read only. This is because the implementation, and I can't add anything here, the implementation is done in another part of the game. So let's implement the interface. This is my class. I'll go to the graph, class settings, and here there should be interfaces. I'll add the interface. It's called blueprint interface. Was it player HUD actions? I believe it was. Player HUD actions, yes. Now that we have implemented the interface here, you will be able to find the actual events of the interface. That all the stuff declared in the interface will be available to us. So now I can start like a little bit of copy and paste. Show player unit combat HUD. Show player unit combat HUD. Like right click it, implement event, here it is. I'll copy and paste this code, even though it's not exactly the code that I will need. Just to get a head start. And let me organize that. I needed this variable just to get this value easier. So I'll create that value. Let's compile it. Let's see if there's another error. Okay. So here we're just modifying the visibility of a stamina bar that doesn't exist right now. So for now, I'll just delete this, organize it again. Clear children. Okay, so what this does in this case, because these were static images, I didn't have control. I mean, I do have control, but I do need to know how many of them I want to create. So what I do is just delete everyone, delete every image here. So that's why clear children means, and that's exactly what I will do here. These are the child, and in this case, this is another widget called combat stats. And here I should be able to have this. Oh, and there are spacers. Oh, it will be a little bit more complicated, but we will do it step by step. So I need to delete everything that's inside this horizontal box. So here's the horizontal box. To get access to the horizontal box, then for sure I need to put it as a variable. Horizontal box action points box. It's a good idea to always have descriptive names. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm trying to modify something that is inside another widget and can get a little bit troublesome. Because here, I will mess around most of the points. Okay, so I could try to just get the reference to the widget, which is this one, and I can get it through this variable. From here, I could get the horizontal box that we just defined as a variable. and this should work, right? I'll just remove that node for now and let's try it. Oh, it's giving me an error because I didn't compile this and I didn't save it. Now it should be fine. Okay, so if I press play and I try to let me make that screen a little bit bigger. Okay, better. If I possess a unit, there shouldn't be anything there, so I guess I don't have access to that just yet. I'm guessing. Okay, so what I will do is, because this is inside of another widget, I will implement the same interface inside this widget so we can work inside only inside this widget, and I don't need to worry too much about accessing variables that I don't have access to. So I'll do the same thing. Class settings, I'll just implement the interface. Player had actions. Now I have the show player unit implement event. And now here I can just, I'll delete everything. I'll just call from the reference and I'll call the same interface function, show player unit combat HUD. And I need to give it the input values. And now from here, I can work inside where all my components, all my widgets are. So from there, I'll copy and paste the code again. And I mean, I'm copying and pasting, but still there's a lot of work that I need to do for it to work. So let's just connect the basic stuff. Oh, I created a variable here that I'm no longer using. I believe, do we have edit, delete and use variables? Super useful. Delete. Perfect. Compile and save it. And now let's create a variable here. I didn't need this visibility, so let's delete it. This action points box. Now we have it. And we will test this. To test this, we need to call it. To call it, we need to use the HUD. Because right now we are calling the show player unit combat HUD, but we are not really calling it to our combat HUD, to our new combat HUD. So, and the unit reference should be this one. So again, I'll later try to arrange this code because I need to delete some stuff here. So let's not worry too much about it. This will call the interface inside our HUD. No, not this one, but this one. And this will call it inside our widget that controls the actual unit stats. So we should see that whenever we play, we select someone and there are no action points because we have cleared all the children. So the next step would be to create the number of points that our character has. For that, what I'm going to do is check how many action points, what's the maximum action points, subtract by 1 because the first index is 0 usually in programming. So the element 1 is 0, so the max element is actually -1. Here I can have some padding, but I see that this is being controlled actually by spacers. And I don't think I actually have a way of having spacers here, because I cannot create. I believe I cannot create um, a basic type of class here. So maybe I will need, if I want this to fit like it does here, I do need to use spacers. Oh, I can't modify it. What? Ah, it's size into the content. Okay. It's okay. I didn't make this widget, so I'm like I'm trying to see how it's working. So okay, it's a defined value that could restrict us if we later on try to migrate the project to run in mobiles, which I don't think we will, but for maybe Nintendo Switch it will be a problem, but it's a problem for the future. Okay, so I do need these spacers, which I do not have, so I'll just create a generic class that only has a spacer in it. So this is in here. I'll create a widget. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first create these action points, which are also a widget. Widget UI combat action point. Okay, let's create those, and then we can see how we can format it or format them. So here we are creating inside a for loop. So the amount of action points that I will have is the amount of widgets that I will create. So here, let me search for UI combat action point. And for now, I'll just remove this. Let's see if I have an issue here. Okay, I'll also remove this. Right. So if we press play, we select something and nothing happened. Perfect. Oh, okay. I know why. I haven't added it to the horizontal box, which is this one. So I do need to add it, and I will create a reroute node just so we can, just so I don't forget that this is not being run. You just double click and this is created. So after creating the widget, we need to add it to our horizontal box. So this is our horizontal box. The content is the widget. And for now, this does not exist in this widget. So I'll disconnect it like that. I just want to show that we are creating actually the number of action points that the unit has, the maximum number of action points. Okay, so from here, I need to show which action points are already used, because in my case, I believe you can see it very faintly, right? These are available, these are used. So here, I'm just checking if the current action points are a different number from the max action points. So that way, if I create an action point element number 5, and I only know that the current action points I have is 4, then I can make it so we use that point. Pretty simple stuff. So for now, this doesn't exist. Like, I mean, it's called use point, but Unreal really doesn't know exactly what is use point. Use point is just a function I created where I just set the opacity, and I change a value if it's available or not. So I'll create this, and there are events, so we can modify the actual look. This is my simple action point. It's just a square. the other action point is a little bit more different, and I'll edit it. Here it is. I'll go to the graph. I'll go and create this. There doesn't exist, is available, so let's create it. It's already created. Okay, already created here. And by default, I believe it should be available in my case. So yeah, opacity, we need to change the opacity of this image. This opacity image field already exists as a variable, so let's use that. Let's compile, save it. Now that make point available, which sets the opacity to 1, and use point, which sets the opacity to 0.1, exists, now that these two exist, we can call them here. So I'll connect this. Now, this right here, I'll try to refresh it. Let's see if it works. It won't work. It will throw an error because this is not a action point. So I'll just need to call from here use point. And you will see that the main difference on these two nodes are the targets. Even though they have the same name, if you create the same event in different blueprints, they are considered totally different. So that's why I need to do something like that. If I wanted to reuse the same name in different blueprints, for sure, you can create an interface, implement that interface, and you are golden. Just like we did here, which is an interface. And that's why I just needed to copy and paste, and it did work. So let's connect this here, delete that, compile. And now when I play, I should be able to have something different here. So now we see 4 available points and not available ones. Now it is working, but it's not working correctly, because if I spend this stamina, which should spend right about here, our point disappeared at the bottom, but it didn't disappear in our HUD. Well, the new HUD. Which is why I had these events. Inside my character, I created something called event dispatchers to know when do you use an action point, when does the stamina updates, when does the stamina gets refilled, and when does the stamina gets depleted. And these were just for animation stuff, so maybe I won't create them, but in this case, I'll just connect it here, and I need a event. So let's create a matching event. This event should be called maybe on action points consumption. And oh, it's already here. Perfect. I need the stamina update. I later need that. For now, I do not need it. Action point consumption is here. And in our other HUD, which I believe I closed, what I did was very simple, actually. If I can find it. Action points consumption, we get the action points -1 to match indices, and we use the point. Like, we're getting the last widget available, and then we use that point. That's pretty much it. So let's just copy and paste this and reuse it. So here I'll connect the points used. I believe this one was the points used. Yes, points used. And here we get the unit, we get the points it currently have. We remove a little one just to get the earlier point. And then from that point forward, I believe what I'm doing is just using the points. I did it like this because I wasn't sure if there may be an ability that use more than 1 point. So it could happen that here the it's not just like a one difference, maybe two or three. So that's why there's a loop. So we can check for each one of the last points and we can consume the point. I need to change this here. And we don't need to cast it to this anymore. We need to cast it to the UI combat action point, and this should also have a use point, which again, there are different classes, so that's why they're different. I will put this here. So now let's see if it's updating. I need to walk a little bit in order for my stamina to change. And yeah, I'm seeing that it is being updated. So now those action points are actually working. Yeah, pretty fun stuff. And whenever I run out of action points, then I should be able to stop completely. And there's a little animation, right? So yeah. So now that the action points work, is like half of the battle. Now I just need to make it look a little bit better, like resemble the previous look, which is this one. But I mean, it has been like more than 20 minutes. I'll check the chat now and answer any questions that you have left there. And let me put this here. Okay, so what questions did I miss? Are you guys using AI tools already? Yeah, I believe this thumbnail was AI created because we needed something there and we needed something quick. So yeah, we're using AI for whatever can save us time. Like time is our most valuable asset because we are really independent. We depend only on the channel and on the action game course. So yeah, if we want to keep up development, we need to get very fast at doing stuff. Let's see another question maybe. Will this live session available later? Yes, it will be available. It's just a little work stream that came out of nowhere just to do some stuff and answer some questions. What are you building? Divinity Original Sin. Yeah, I mean, it's an action game. It's an action strategy game. It's a strategy game, yes. It's a turn-based game, yes, but with an action element to it. Like the idea is like you control not like top down like we usually do in Divinity, but more like kind of hack and slash, almost like that, but you have control over whatever you want to do, and you will have stamina which will limit you in the times of how much can you move, right? And you can also attack if I had programmed that stuff, right? But at least this is what we have. Oh, and these are combos that I did. I mean, we already have a tutorial on combos, but I did it again in another way that I liked it better. So if someone wants to know about that, I can go through that. I have a question. I have a main menu and a regular 3D person map. Main menu, regular 3D person. Okay, I'm currently making a minimap, but when I hit start, my minimap doesn't show. Okay, so I think I have a minimap type, classic minimap. I believe it's this one. And this is a free tutorial. Well, it's a paid tutorial, but you have it for free if you enroll in our action course, or if you subscribe as a patron in the YouTube channel. You should be able to have this classic minimap tutorial for free, which it was free like a good time ago, but no one was really seeing it, so we needed to have more exclusive stuff. So here I'll show you what this that does if only the shaders run. So this is a Final Fantasy XIV map, and I just wanted to create a minimap, a classic minimap. So here you will have the minimap. You move around, and it should match to where you are standing. So here, if you see, oh, I'm in the middle of East End, you should be really in the middle of East End, right? And we are, yeah. I'll put the desktop here. So, I mean, if I just assume from the question that you are trying to show the minimap and it's not showing up, it's because whenever we create any type of UI, any type of widget, let me remember, where did I put this? Was it in the hat? Yeah, here it is. Let's say you already created your minimap here. It won't show until you add it to the viewport. If I remove this node, I press play, and I won't have my minimap. If I do connect it, then now I have it. So yeah, whenever you create a widget and you don't see it, it's because you do need to add it to the viewport. There's this add to viewport, and there's also add to player screen. This is especially useful if you're working with a split screen, like more than one player in the same machine, because in that case, the viewport will be splitted in two, like something like this. So adding a widget to the viewport, we'll add it here. Oh, where's my... Here. We'll add it here, but adding the viewport to the screen, to the player screen, will take in account, oh, this is one player, so I'll add the minimap here. This is another player, so I'll add it also here. So yeah, those are the main difference between this add to viewport and add to player screen. They will behave the same if you only have one player, because, well, it still works like one viewport, right? So yeah. Another question: how do you remember all these nodes? Oh, it's just practice, and you will find it, like, for example, you want to create something, you want to create a blueprint, you want to have it on your map, you will find it that spawn will do the trick. You want to create a special effect, you will see that the same keyword spawn is used for visual effects, spawn decals, spawn classes. So you will start making connections, like, oh, I'm trying to put it inside a map. I'm spawning it into the map. So just type spawn, and you can just read what comes here, what Unreal recommends, like spawn, sounds, dialogue, AI. Whenever you're working with a 2D space, you're not spawning in the map, so it's more like creating, and here you will find create widgets, create drag and drop operation, create transaction. So like the same keywords are used for similar stuff. So whenever you get used to one side of development, you may find that the other side have relatively similar keywords. So trying to learn all the nodes, for sure I don't know all the nodes, and I always forget like important nodes that I don't use very much. I mean, I know how to do a drag and drop operation inside widgets, but it's not some. I have done it like twice or three times. If I try to remember the nodes, I won't be able to. So that's where I'll just go to Google and search like, oh, Unreal Engine 5 or 4, create a drag and drop widget, and from there you will find documentation. You enter the documentation and see the nodes, or see the names of the functions if you are working in C++. But from here, this is the part that for sure I won't be able to remember. Oh, absolute local, yeah, that makes sense. Get screen space location. You will forget for sure, but it's just practice that some things will stuck to you. Unreal Engine feels almost too advanced to me. It feels like not even control enough. Well, that's always at the start. Like, you can't expect to go into something new being familiar with it, because otherwise it wouldn't be new. And even though you have spent there like maybe a year, there will be a lot of stuff that feels like you are not in control, or you like you're missing out. And Unreal Engine is a very complete tool, which even I could have been using this more than 5-7 years, but there are still a lot of stuff that I don't know, because it has to do more with the art side of things, and it has to do maybe with more animation stuff. So yeah, I mean, feeling uncomfortable is part of the learning process. And at least for me, I don't like feeling uncomfortable. So it becomes like a motivator. Like, okay, you're uncomfortable, practice. Practice will make it feel more natural, will make it feel more at home. So yeah, I mean, every software will be advanced if you see it from that perspective. Like even the simplest type of software will have their advanced uses. So yeah, don't get discouraged by it. I want to make my own game. Should I start with Unreal Engine 5 or 4.27? If you can't run Unreal Engine 5, you can start with 4.27 to learn stuff. But yeah, you better use Unreal Engine 5, because that's the tendency of most of other games that are coming out. So yeah, there are a lot of good tools there. There are a lot of improvements from Unreal 4. But if you don't have another option, then you can use Unreal 4. No problem. I had a question for the classic minimap. I'm currently using it, but I have a problem where my character cursor is moving west and east in the minimap, but I'm moving north and south. Do you know what I can do to fix that? Okay, if I remember correctly, in the classic minimap, that could happen if your orientation was not good. And that's why this little blueprint, which is the minimap setup, has a arrow. So if you turn it 90 degrees, that becomes the north. And now you will see that my cursor is all screwed up, like it's not pointing to the right direction. And it all has to do where are you considering your north to be. So yeah, it's a matter of fixing that. Now, I don't remember if I make it so whenever you choose the correct north, it will fix the rotation, but I don't really remember. It was so long ago where I did this minimap. But probably if you're going side to side whenever it should be north and south, it's because of this little blueprint. Oh, does that matter if you have two levels, one a start menu and one the viewport? If you have two levels, and you load another one, then all the widgets that you had in the other level will disappear. So yeah, you need to take that in consideration, that the things that we create whenever we are in a level are not persistent, because whenever we create another level, everything else gets destroyed and the new level gets loaded and everything inside it gets loaded. So yeah, if you're creating the widget then going to another level and you don't see the map, then yeah, that's the issue. You should create the widget whenever the new level loads. I have an object and I want to have an opening in the wall in the shape of the, how you can do that? Yep, you can do booleans, unless you're talking about, yeah, no, booleans all the way. And before I continue with what I was doing, I'll close this. Hello man, I love your videos. I have a question for you. How did you learn to script? Did you take C++ courses before you jump into blueprints? Well, I finished studying computer science, and they had a course like basic programming. They use Scratch. I don't know if you know the tool, but Scratch programming. I mean, I already knew the basics of flow control, like using ifs and else in an Excel sheet, and I already knew how to program a little bit in ActionScript in Flash. But here, university decided, oh, you should use Scratch. No images, which are nodes. You put the nodes, they run sequentially, something happens, there are events. It's a classic visual type of programming, and it's very useful to get started. It's very useful to get to understand in a simple environment the actual logic. And there was a very nice exercise, like the first exercise is like, oh, you need to draw here. Let's say you want to draw a square, so you put put the pen down, then move some units down, move some units right, some units up, some units left, and release the pen. And the next exercise is, oh, now you draw a triangle at the side. And people forgot to lift the pen. So the usual result was like, oh, you drew, like, here's my square, and then immediately you will see that the line continues, and then you have your triangle, right? And this is just a logic error. Like, it's not about the programming, it's not about the code, it's not about the language, it's just a logic error that you forgot to lift the pen before starting to write again. From there, I jumped to C++. Fun times with C++ and missing a colon or a semicolon. And from there, like, I stay in C++ a lot. I really liked C++, so whenever I learned about Unreal and knew that they were using C++, it's like, oh yes, everything has been building up to this point specifically. But mostly, like, in university they taught us, they taught like super specific cases for C++, but the logic, which is actually the most important part, like, they just dedicated like 2 or 3 classes. So that that thing, I really didn't like that, the way they taught in my university. Usually it was a lot better to find internet, go and search for, I mean, if you want to get really good at C++, search for problems from competitive programming, and for sure you won't be able to do it. I'm not able to do it, but you try it, and by at least trying it, you get a solution, and then you compare it, and you can see, oh, I can improve it this way or that way. But I mean, the effort of doing it makes it easier to solve problems. And from there, it doesn't matter what language do you use. Like, I could probably program in C# and it would be almost the same. Boolean didn't work for me. Can you show me please an example? Oh, I'm from the modeling tools, I believe. Yeah, I have not used the modeling tools like in quite a bit, so I'm super rusty with that. Maybe in another live stream where where Mauricio is streaming, he can show it. But for sure, I'm more comfortable answering programming stuff, or maybe animation also. But yeah, I haven't used the modeling tools like maybe since last year that I was teaching, and I needed to get back into the into the modeling stuff. But I mean, as a quick effort, if I remember correctly, wasn't it something like this? And yeah, I don't even remember where the boolean was. Yeah, see, it's been a while since I did something like that. So yeah, we will leave it to another live stream. And now I need to delete the things that I created. Some environment generated. I'll just revert it, don't worry. Yeah, so if there are other questions, I will look at it in a minute. I just want to finish what I was doing with this part, making the stamina bar work, and then I will fix the issue with the with how the action points look like. For sure, they shouldn't be all here. They should be properly spaced. So let's see how to make the stamina bar. So the stamina bar, this is the action point. that I don't think I need, right? Okay, I'll save this, I'll close it, I don't need it anymore. And here, this stamina bar is another widget. This widget should have like a way of setting up the progress. Right now, we can set up the progress by going here, percent, and changing it. But I need a more concrete way of changing it. Now, for that, I could create a function here, or from the widget, the parent widget, I can get a reference to this, and from there we can change it. So let me do just that. Now the thing is, and this will be a good example of developing for the future, right? What's the name of this? Is on stamina update. I explained before, there's an event dispatcher I created in the character. Oh, and let me, whoop. In the character where it knows exactly when the stamina updates, it knows when you consume an action point, and it knows when the stamina refills. So that's why I just need to bind to these events, and then the widget can take care of itself, basically. This one will be on stamina update. This event shows us, or well, gives us the current stamina and the max stamina, which that's the only thing that I need to set the percent. And I'll just copy and paste that because, yeah, I mean, you write the stuff so many times that you get bored of it. So just to give a small example, any bar here will be from 0, here I'll set the percent to 0, to 1. 1 is full, 0 is empty. So because I know it's from 0 to 1, if my current stamina is maybe 70 and my max stamina is 100, to get that value from 0 to 1 is just dividing. It's called the rule of 3 or thirds. No, 3 I believe it should be. I mean, in Spanish is regla de tres, so rule of 3 sounds like correct, but it may be, maybe decent. So what I mean is just, if you want to know which number between 0 and 1 is 70, which is x, and you know that the max value is 100, and the max value here is from 0 to 1, so this should be 1. What you need to do is multiply this and divide it by 100, so it should be something like this. Because this is 1, we can just remove it, and we can just do something like this, and this will be, I don't know the actual result, so 7 over 10, that's the result, which I don't really care. I just want for the computer to do the calculation, not me. So that's why I just divide the current stamina with the max stamina, and you get a value from 0 to 1. And this stamina, I can get it from the W combat stamina bar, which is this one. We need to get the actual stamina, which is called progress bar. We connect it, and we should be able to see how the stamina goes every time we move. And whenever an action point gets used, then the stamina replenishes. Now, what's the problem with this, or with the way I have done this, is that if later on I have different types of bars, and I want to set the percentage in those bars, I will need to go inside them, search for the progress bar, and search for the progress bar name, which may or may not be the same. So what I can do is here just create a event or a function. Let's create a custom event. Set bar value, and from here set value, set percentage, set percent, and we give it in percent, so I know it's from 0 to 1. Save it, compile it, and here instead of getting this, I can get the stamina bar, set percent, set bar value, and I can connect it like this. So now with that, should still be the same, and if for whatever reason I need to work with another bar, I can just create the same type of function, and then I know for a fact which name do I have to use. Yeah, so now the bar is working, the action points are working. I can get rid of that bar, like this debug bar. I won't really need it, at least for now. And yeah, it should be in the player HUD, just in case. Yeah, I don't want to actually delete it. Just in case, I'll delete this and put here for debugging purposes. Oh, I should really delete it, but I'll just have it like that. And now it shouldn't appear in my game. Now I only have the widgets that should be being used. Perfect. Now I'll go back to my widget, this one. And for here, for this one, I want it, what's this? Okay, I want the action points to be spaced, just like this. The thing is that, one, I don't have access to create these spacers, so I could create another widget that is a spacer and then start filling them up. But I could also try to, if I delete them and I select all my widgets and I put fill, yeah, okay, this will happen. This happens because we are not defining safe zones for our images. So I will need to go inside my combat action, and just in case, do I have something here? Okay. Here, this is an image, this is an overlay, this is a size box. Here it has an override, but we can define max desired width and height. I mean, you can use a size box, you can also use and I'll just put it on top, wrap with a scale box. This will make sure that it will scale to fit, but stretch directions we can select both down only, up only. In my case, I only want to fit the Y value, the up and down value. So scale to fit Y. I'll save it, I'll compile it, and now see what happens now here. We don't really have the spacers, but we have scaled like properly, like how do I explain this? If you see here, the screen space for this widget is this, but here these dotted lines means that our image is only using that part. Why? Because we only tell it to scale in this axis, but not in the X one. So here it doesn't scale like it was doing it before. That way I don't need to create another spacer type of class and create spacers between and modify my code to match, and we get the same result, right? So hopefully our good friend Mao was watching. Oh, and I need to save, compile maybe. Okay, sometimes this will happen where you see it fine here, and in the actual blueprint nothing happens. I can reload stuff. It would be better to just close it and open it again. And hopefully if that works, we can start wrapping things up, because I'm almost an hour and a half. Okay, I do want to open the editors, and I do want to open the recent level. Let's see. Hopefully it worked. It didn't work. Perfect. Just what I needed. This not working. Now why does it doesn't work? Not a clue, but we will figure it out, or at least I'll try to figure it out. Here's my combat point. Here is my combat unit HUD. And it bothers me that it works fine here, but not in the actual game. Maybe the next unit? No. What could it be? Oh, okay. Yeah. So in order to get this, it's my bad. In order to get this looking like it is, now I remember that we selected everything here and put fill. Yeah, right now by default is in auto, which is why we don't get this nice type of look. So we need to go wherever we create the action points, which was here. Nope. Here. And we need to add this stuff. This padding sort of thing, but we don't need padding. We need to make it so we can set the size as fill. Now if we just get the widget and set size, we will get this, and this is not what we want. What we need to do actually is from this add child, we will get the actual child inside the horizontal box, right? Which is called the horizontal box slot object, which you could also kind of get if you try to do something like this as horizontal box slot. But we can ignore that and we can just get from here, set size. And in size, let's make it. And whenever we make it, we have a value and the size rule. The size rule is fill and 1 is okay. So 1 fill, perfect. Let's compile, play it. And now we have it like we have it in UMG. Because let's remember that we are creating this dynamically. Depending on how many action points you have, it will vary. And for sure I have a character that has less than 6 action points. I don't remember which one is it. It's not this one. This one. This one has 4 and it starts with 2. So we can see that it is working. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. We need to organize this. I'm using this plugin called what was it? Blueprint Assist, super useful. Just type F, it's organized. Oh, and this, I'm debating if I need to add the animation right now. I believe I don't because the UI may change, so I won't add any type of animation right now. But here it is. Now we have it working, and that was pretty much the goal of the stream because I didn't want to have something that hard to do. So let's see some questions and then we will wrap up. Oh, let's see. Hello. What do you do? Thank you. It will be great to know the shortcuts you're using. Okay, so super super useful and the most common shortcuts I'm using all the time, constantly. And maybe I can I? No, I can't. Okay, I can't show my keyboard. But the first one is Control P. And I will type it just because I know I'm not the best English speaker. So let's just get a text. Where's the text? And you can find anything if you just type text render actor. Here it is. So my most, or I believe it's my most used shortcut is Control plus P. Let me put it here. What does Control P does is Control P opens the window of Open Asset, which is this one. I don't really like searching for the folder. I don't really like, I mean, using filters to find stuff, super useful for levels especially. Like, oh, I don't know where the level is, here. You select just the root folder and then you will have any level that it's inside that folder. But whenever I'm searching something super specific to my need, then, for example, I know about the game mode called Sonus Requiem, then Control P, game mode, and an underscore, and I can see all the game modes. Because I have named them GM from game mode, and then the game mode. Or if I knew, oh, I need something to do with the player, type player, you will get everything that you named as the player. Now this here is top layer, it's still spelled player, so be careful with that. I believe you can make it, no, you can't make it case sensitive, but I mean, it gets you close enough. I'm constantly using this, and it's very useful because, oh, I need to create a new type of character, which is called, I believe it was test enemy. Yeah, enemy test unit. You have your blueprint here. Just drag and drop it. It's the same as having a content drawer. Usually, I always use the content drawer if I'm creating a level and I have the assets here. Like, it makes sense, but when I'm working with code, it's like I almost never use this. Another cool shortcut is also with P, actually. Alt P. What does Alt P does? You start the game and it doesn't matter where you are. It's like, oh, I'm here, Alt P. I mean, you can also click here, but let's say you're testing stuff with animations, which maybe I have some here. For example, this one. You really don't have that play button, but you make a change here. You need to change to test your animation. You can Alt P from here, and it will start the game. So Alt P, also super useful. Yeah. From there, from blueprints, I mean, you can just put your mouse on top of it, and you will get the shortcut that you want. Compilers F7, even though it doesn't show it here, but you make a change. I made a change. Oh, F7, and now it's compiled. And I believe I didn't have I didn't modify this at all, so I want to revert the change. Revert, and this is source control. That's why I don't want to mess around with this. Yes. Reloading. There it goes. Clean, super clean. For now, these are the shortcuts. I mean, I could go on and on about shortcuts, but let's see if there's more questions. Good luck with your project. Thank you very much. We hope that we are also lucky with the project. What other? I would use an interface for this. Also, why do you validate the old way? We can convert and get the validated way. Works the same, but we have only one block instead of two. Why do I validate the old way? Okay. Yes, we have the new way. I do use the new way. This type of validation, and I believe you may have, okay, you see it here. I'm not using the new way here because we are still prototyping. And if I did this, validated yet, which is the new way, what I would need to do whenever I need to change this class or another variable, it's, let's just copy and paste the code, just so it's super clear. Like this. Okay, these are the same type of validation. And I will try something. I haven't tried it, so maybe you're super right and I'm super wrong. So this can be a learning experience for me. Let me increase. Okay. Let's say I'm working with this variable. This code works. Both things are doing the same. But now I need to, this becomes a class that it's only for debugging, which happened with this class. This class is a widget that I created just to debug stuff. So that's why I had these ugly squares. Like I have these ugly squares and this ugly bar because it's just debugging stuff. But now I need to change it to the cool one, which is this one, or at least it's cooler, or well, it's nicer. I mean, I won't trash talk or the guy who created it, but it's nicer. It's a lot nicer whatever trash I create. If I knew that I would need to change this, what I can do is this. I get the new variable. Let's create one just for the sake of it. Let's duplicate, I don't know, this one. I just drag and drop on top of the variable and it changes. This still works because it's an interface and it's not something inside this value. But I mean, it gives me this opportunity of just removing the pin easily, not just getting, oh, right click, convert to validated get, and replacing it like this. Now, what I don't know, and what I would like to try right now, because that didn't work when in early access, so I didn't use it like that, is if I can just do this here. And it works, okay. Yeah, let's use validated gets then. If that works, then for sure. No reason there. Like I said, it was a very nice learning experience, actually. That, I mean, you need to try stuff, and if you don't have like the opportunity to do it, you may be stuck in old ways. So yeah. Oh, what did happen before with this validated get is that I tried to refactor it and it was throwing me errors, and I needed to right click, refresh it on every blueprint that I was using. So that's also another thing of why I wasn't using them. Was in early access, for sure this already was fixed, but I haven't been reading the change logs as of yet. So yeah, I'll use it more so I can see what changed. So yeah, very good question actually. Thank you for your question. Upload the tutorial so that it can be saved. Oh, by the way, I mean, it's not exactly a tutorial, it's a work kind of stream. Like I'm showing what we're doing, well, a little piece of what we're doing, and just taking answers to be more involved with you guys, with you, the viewers. Hi there, do you know a way of showing a float curve from class on the UI? No, actually, no, it hasn't appeared. Like, you could create a lot of things, maybe images, and then just move the position. No, I haven't had that case, that specific case in my in, in my developing time. Yeah, if I ever need to show a floating curve, like the first thing that I will do is just, oh, let's jump to Google, which I think I just lost. Yeah, I lost it. Like, oh, Unreal Engine 5. Show a float curve in UMG. Doesn't show keys and curves. I don't believe a float a curve graphic. Yeah, I don't think it's that common to do, to try to show a curve in UMG. I mean, a curve is basically points. Like you have a point here, you have a point here, here, and here, and from there you can draw lines. The bigger amounts of points that you have, the curver, if that's a word, the rounder your curve will be. So if you have points like this, you will get like this type of line. So you could create a lot of images in UMG, and because they would be references, then it shouldn't be that costly. I don't know. It's a problem, a good problem to investigate. Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Seems like nobody ever needed to make one. I mean, usually if you see curves in a game, you will try. It's just fake stuff. Like, oh, it's just showing you weird stuff. But there are curves inside. No, but they're not exactly curves. Like you can see the unit stat. Let's show the stats, FPS, and let's show stat. No, where was it? What was it called? It was unit. I mean, whenever I was debugging stuff for physics or stuff for the vehicles, there were like some kind of curves. So, I mean, I know you can put them in the viewport, but I don't remember how to make it appear. Unit graph. See? And they look super jagged, but I mean, if you have more points, you can make it appear a little bit smoother. You could go into C++ and see how they did that if you really want to know exactly that, or you can try to come up with your own solution for curves, which yeah, is not that common. So I I wish you good luck with that. And if you manage to find a solution, do let us know in the Discord server. Just joined. What's happening? Oh, we're just wrapping up the stream. I was just showing a little bit of development and answering some questions, but I already done. I need to go to the bathroom really quick. By chance, do you allow others to hire you for game development? No, Not anymore. We started like that. We really didn't like it. We are semi self-sufficient with the YouTube, the channel, the course, which the course, the action game course, really helps us to live without worrying how to eat the next month. So yeah, it's really helpful, and there's a lot of useful information there also, and gives you the ability to enter a zone specifically for the people taking the course, where you can ask more questions, and we take a lot more time answering those than just a general forum, right? Because there are a lot of questions in the Discord that sometimes we don't have time to research them. So yeah, between that, we are doing our best to finish our game. Well, to start, uh, complete, and finish the game. Well, I just wanted to load the to look at engine torque curve. Yeah. I mean, if it's going to be like you can't modify that curve, probably just use an image and be done with it. It will be much easier than um, just trying to generate it, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have like a tool that show curves. You want to have a game that as a feature shows some type of curve. Yeah, unless you were working with, I don't know, engineering stuff that do really need the curves to be exactly or precisely drawn and in real time, then you have a good problem on your hands. But yeah, this has been nice. Thank you all for coming here, for staying, for asking the questions, and for interacting with me and with us in the chat. Yeah, and thanks for all the support. We will still be putting some tutorials. Don't worry about them. They are still coming, but our main focus right now is the game. So we wanted to share more about that, right? So that's why our streams will probably more related to the game we're developing, and the tutorials will be of specific topics that like before. Okay, so with that said, have a nice day or night, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.